So hello everyone and welcome to the Web Dimensions training webinar for March 9, 2013. I'm really glad to see everyone here. Thanks so much for showing up. I got some great training for you. Some of my coaching students are already a little bit familiar with this, but I've been working on some new training that's really going to help a lot of people. I'm going to have 3 sections in the training today. Basically, I'm going to go over a really big picture for you because what we've done in the past webinars is that we've talked about how to use the software to execute certain things, which is great, and I think those other training sessions were quite good. So if you missed those, please go ahead and watch them because they are available as videos. But this time, today I'm going to talk a little bit more about the big picture of where do you use this software, not how do you use it, but where does it fit into the big picture. The past training videos are all available on your Portal 2 website, and as you know, we started on portal.viralvideocurator.com, and we had some problems with that setup, so we switched to portal2.viralvideocurator.com. If you don't have an account on Portal 2 yet, please make sure you contact us, and we'll send you the link so you can get registered on Portal 2, where everyone is, where we're putting everything. And we're trying to keep up with the first portal as well, but we're going to be shutting that down soon. So just contact us at support@instantcontentcurator.com, and we will send you the link. Okay. So, as I was saying, today we're going to talk about big picture and what I call the fast track curation success blueprint. And the Fast Track Curation Success Blueprint consists of 6 steps that you have to get through in order to be successful with your curation website. Let me see in the chat box. Do you guys think this is something that you're interested in learning from me today? Does it look good to you? Yes, yes, good. Oh yeah, said Bruce. Yes, okay, fantastic. Alrighty. Well, I love to see all the positive comments coming in here. So, okay, I think it's pretty good because this is really what you have to do to be successful with any kind of website. And that could be, a curated website or really anything. And yeah, that's what we're doing, Steve. We're simplifying the whole thing for you. That's what this is for. Okay, but of course, as we drill down into each section, there are details that have to be looked at. But if you do this in the right sequence, then you're going to be successful. If you don't do this in the right sequence, then you're not going to be successful. Because what most people do is they kind of skip number 1, they jump right to number 2, and then they jump right to number 6. Okay, thanks, Phil. So, and I see this again and again and again, and you guys, those of you that know me and know me for a while, then you know that I have said this in the past, that, and it happens with all the WSOs and the lovely, bright, shiny objects that are offered to us every day. Basically, those kind of get you stuck in number 2 forever because you're always implementing this and implementing that, trying to figure out how to do this and how to make this thing work, and you never get past number 2. But yet and still, you're going to try to do number 6, right? And that's not going to work, folks. It just isn't. You have to really lay the foundation, implement that foundation, curate to that implementation, promote that, and then evaluate it. Not supposed to show this yet. Oops. And then if your evaluation gives you certain indications, then you monetize. Okay, but you don't monetize if there's nothing to monetize. And so that you have to really go through all the steps, and then when you get to that point, then you throw in the monetization, because then it's going to work. Now you may be actually, there are certain conditions where that actually can be jumped over. Let me tell you what those are. Those are when you have a business or a service where you know that people are going to pay money for it, and you need to put that out there. So you just throw up a website with a buy now button and some keywords on it, you know, some information about it, and people will come and buy that. Okay, so that's like if you've got something, you know, that you really know is something that people buy. But still, they have to have a way to find you. Yeah, free gold, that's right, Zachary. I mean, what comes to mind is just off the top of my head, about a couple years ago, one of my dogs got mange really bad. So I had to find a cure for mange for my dog, right? And if you go out there, you'll find there's a website called Mange Busters, I think it is. And, you know, who all is out there offering a cure for mange? You know, I mean, I think it's like one person the last time I checked. So when you go look for that, it's there. Does that make sense to you guys? Let me see what you think. Yeah. Okay, so, you know, I mean, this is, like I said, it's off the top of my head. We have to go and do the research, but that's just the way it looks. So if you're doing something that's a little bit broader, you know, even when I started my mastering website, Groophonic, I knew that there were people out there that would do this if I put it up there for free. So I put it out, you know, started getting some opt-ins, but I definitely had to work hard, you know, to get that out there. But, you know, hard work. So yeah, Laurence, if you have a cure for a disease, that's definitely one type of thing that might get you traffic quickly. You know, just make sure that what you're doing is legal, I would say, because in this day and age, you can't just go and claim that you have a cure for a disease without incurring some consequences, possibly. So let's drill down into this a little bit. Let's open the foundation. And in our foundation, the first thing we really have to come up with is the idea, and that's what we're talking about right now. What is the idea that we throw out there? You know, and it has to be something, you know, people call this a niche or niche. I don't necessarily follow that, but, you know, everybody has their own ways. There's some really smart people out there that do really smart things. But what I think is it could be more of an idea than a niche, because when you get stuck in the niche, then you really start getting into this really technical thing. And in fact, if you think of your internet website more as kind of like a store, or think of it as a real place where people, you know, you want people to come in, because if you put up a store on Main Street and it's just that, you know, you just have nothing there, and you're trying to get people to give you their information, and they just have no way to get to know who you are, what you're about, or trust you or anything like that. So, you know, really what you need to do is find something that you feel comfortable about. I mean, look, you could go off and make a website about, I was reading somebody yesterday made a website about lice, and that's a niche, you know. If you want to get off into that, he said he couldn't even he couldn't even stick with that one because it made him feel itchy, so so this guy, and as somebody I saw on Facebook, I don't even remember who it was, a marketer, props to him, whoever it was, but he said, yeah, I had started this website about head lice, but I had to drop it because it just made me feel itchy all the time, and I just couldn't stand dealing with that topic, so that's what I'm saying. That's kind of a niche thing, and it was probably, who would make a website about head lice unless it's really a part of your life, and you really want to share a cure or whatever, something like that, like the mange, just kind of the same thing, right? Ooh, why am I here? But anyway, that's just, Zachary says if it makes money, I would. Well, there you go. Okay, so it depends on your motivation. Now, if you can figure out how to make money from head lice, then go for it, you know what I'm saying? So that's, and if that's where you want to be, because I'm saying if you're going to create a website of this type, an authority site really is what we're talking about, then I'm going to suggest that you pick a subject that you feel halfway comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? That's my point. And then it doesn't mean it has to be a happy topic either, like Bruce says, problems or entertainment. It's like whatever's going to engage the human being that's on the other end of the computer, right? And that's what we're here for. We're here to engage and create some economic interactions here. So we have to get the influence over the people that are coming to the site. If we don't do that, they're never going to do what we want, which is opt in or purchase from us. So we have to do something that's going to get influence over the people that will eventually end up on the website. We have to plan this first. So we have to think of the niche or topic that we feel comfortable with, that we have some access to content, or at least some ideas about it. And here's a pretty good tip, that you can actually create content about stuff that you know about by recording it into a voice recorder onto an MP3, and then you can send the MP3 to a Fiverr. Just look for transcription. And you can just create your own articles that way really easily. Or you could, have someone to do it for you, either pay for articles, or you have someone in your company that knows something about the topic that you want to choose. Interviews are good, Zachary. There's lots of ways to do it. Like I'm saying, ultimately you want to have some control over some knowledge of this topic so you can curate intelligently and interestingly. So you have to take this all into consideration if you want to do this. Now, if you want to follow someone else's script, that's fine, because there's a lot out there. But this is, I'm saying, how you want to set something up as an authority site that you can identify with, and like I do with my mixing and mastering and my beats and that kind of thing. Those aren't just things that I put up for auto money that I don't give a hoot about. These are things that I care about because they're me. These, I really identify with those websites. So that's, that's my thing. If you don't go with my model, that's fine, but this is how I do it. And I'm going to do some research, okay? Let me just close this up for a second. And I'm definitely going to use Google Keyword Tool. And just for the tip, if you actually have an account with Google AdWords that's hooked up with your credit card and everything, then you can get really good search results from the Google Keyword Tool. If you use the free Google Keyword Tool, it only gives you 100 keyword results. Excuse me. So it's much better to have a Google AdWords account, log into the AdWords account, and use the Google keyword tool when you're logged into your account. And what I'm going to do in the Google keyword tool, which, by the way, this is the outline for some much more detailed training that I'm going to be creating on all this for everyone. But so we're just sort of going through it, and I'm not going to, dwell on each point. So we're just going to run through everything now, and later we'll get into the deeper details of it. But we're going to look for our short tail and our long tail keywords. For me, for example, for mastering music, it's what I do. So mastering alone, that is the big keyword, the short tail keyword, which unfortunately I was somewhat slapped for that one, so I don't really have any ranking for that one. I have lots of long tail keywords though, which is cool. And a long tail keyword, if you say a short tail would be mastering, a long tail keyword would be something like mastering tracks online. Something like that would be a long tail keyword. And those are the kind of keywords that people put in when they're really seriously looking for something, even something like price for mastering a song. That's a great, and I have those on, position number 1 on Google for lots of things like that. So that works fine for me. And while we look in the keywords tool, we're going to look at the search volume, how much those words are being searched for. And that's important because if they're not being searched at all, then they're certainly not going to bring any traffic to your site, right? So you have to make sure you know that. You're going to look at the competition, and the competition in Google Keyword Tool is about how many people are paying for AdWords on that keyword. So if a lot of people are paying for that, that's actually good because it means it's very popular and very valuable keyword. So if nobody's paying for that keyword, that probably means that that keyword is not worth very much money. Okay, so if people are paying a lot for the keyword, that means that they're making a lot of money off of that keyword. So you keep that. So you can export this list, and like I said, if you're logged in, then you can export way more than 100. If you're not logged in, you can only export 100. So Zachary mentions that having a lot of competition, while I said it's good because a lot of people are paying for it, he said that also means there's a lot of people competing for ranking on that keyword. Yeah, that's true. That doesn't really intimidate me, and it shouldn't you either, because it's really not about beating up the competition. It's about making something that engages human beings. Okay, that's kind of the my theme, and I really think that works. I do think there may be some place for some other approach, but certainly not for your main authority site. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? What do you guys think about that? Let me see. Anybody have an opinion about that? Say no, I'd rather use a robot than do my own stuff. What do you think about that? Seems to make sense to most people. Nobody should be afraid of competition, Eugene says. June says it's time-consuming but necessary. Zachary says too much competition, no top 10. Laurence, manual research is better. Yeah, I mean, I think, in fact, it's not a bad, there's some good things coming in. Absolutely give Google what it wants, a good content. Joseph Geddes. KEI, that's right, reasonable traffic to competition, Bruce. I used to see that in the rank tracker software, which I used to use, and I can't use that anymore because it got weird with Google API. Douglas says, do you really want to answer Google bots with content from robots? Well, I don't. I don't know about you. But how many search is the criteria for long tail keywords, Steve says? I think it depends on the, it's a good question. I think it depends on the so-called niche, that you're in, but I think a minimum 1,000 is what you're looking for, and you may be looking more for higher than that, like 10,000. Okay, and Ed says YouTube searches are better. I think that may be true. There's some really interesting stuff going on YouTube. June says, what does Google do about using ranking software? Well, it's just that they have this thing where you put an API key that you get from Google in the software, and then it started throwing up so many captchas that the software just would choke, and it took forever to look the keywords. So I use SERP book now. And I'm going to show you that. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to carry on now. Thank you for all your feedback. I really appreciate it. That's what makes this, worthwhile. So what you want to do is you want to select 5 to 10 long tail keywords from the search that have the criteria that we've been talking about. And then you want to create articles with those long tail keywords like as the title of the article. And then you'll eventually put those onto your WordPress website as pages, not as posts. But we'll get to that. Next thing you want to be researching is your competition in the search engine result pages, and you can do that with Alexa, Quantcast. Quantcast tells you demographic. I think both of these may tell you demographic information about the kind of users that are viewing your competition's websites. And speaking of competition, I think it's actually good to have some really good competition, because if someone out there is making it in this area that you've chosen, that means it's makeable. You know you understand what I'm saying? A lot of people, what they're doing is they're picking niches simply because of the quantitative data. You know what I'm saying? Simply because of the quantifications, the numbers. And then they're putting out websites and expecting to make money, but it just doesn't work because they haven't figured the human factor into the equation. And the human factor is like, who's looking at this and how much money do they have? The bottom line is who's looking at it, and what are their purchasing habits, and so on and so forth. So you can find that kind of thing out at Quantcast and Alexa. Backlink Watch is a fantastic website, backlinkwatch.com. You can go there and put in the URL of your competition and find out how many backlinks they have. Now, I had promoted some software over the last week, which also does actually more than Backlink Watch, called Backlink Snatcher. I think that closed today, but I did a video showing how to use that. Awesome, Zachary. Let us know if you didn't get the video. So you want, this is how you research not your website, because we haven't made the website yet, or perhaps we just haven't configured it yet, but we're looking at our competition. Who is it we're up against? We take their URL, we research it on Backlink Watch, on Quantcast, on Alexa. See who's looking at this topic, how many, what demographic group, what backlinks do we have pointing to our competition, so we may know how to reach that level. Okay, so then we're going to research the availability of news, because since our software, you may not all have ICC Pro, but our software consumes Google Alerts and other sources of news, so we want to make sure that the area that we go into, does have a lot of cool news that we can curate. It's kind of important. And last, and definitely not least, is that we research the possible products or affiliate offers. And we're going to check ClickBank, and we're going to check Amazon, and we're going to also keep our eyes open for, WSOs or whatever, if that's the type of area that we're in. Okay, but ClickBank and Amazon both have just about any type of niche or topic that you can find. And ClickBank has certain criteria that you have to fall into, and that's way beyond the scope of this tutorial today. Amazon, I think it's, there are also things to follow, and we'll get into that another time. And there's lots of other affiliate programs you can use too, but those are definitely the most popular, and you should research the products related to your niche or idea, before you even start implementing. Okay, but once you've done all that, then you're ready to start implementing it. Okay, and if you already have a domain name, you should go through a certain process to make sure the domain name is going to be helpful to you. Now, if you've gotten a used domain, which we're going to get into, then there are things to look at for that too. But if you have an idea for a domain name, what you really want to do is go back to that Google keyword tool and put the words of the domain name into the keyword tool, do a search, and see what comes up. Because often, or depending on what word you put in there, Google might not have the same idea. And I'm not sure if my brother Johnny Noef is here today, but I just wanted to, I hope you don't mind me mentioning your website, because we sort of looked at it the other day in the coaching group, and it's good. It's a beautiful website. He chose bodytalk.co.uk, and he was working on like health issues, skin and that sort of thing. So we went to Google and we put Body Talk into the Google keyword tool, and what actually came up was mainly they were looking at some medical stuff, but mainly it was about plastic surgery, gossip about celebrity, gossip about celebrity plastic surgery. I think I got that out. So actually, Body Talk, Google was thinking that Body Talk is about celebrity, about gossip about celebrity plastic surgery. So, so that doesn't mean that you can't go and create your brand on Body Talk, John, and make it something else. Because what we actually did, we also put my domain, groovephonic.com. We put groovephonic into the Google keyword tool, and what came up was mixing and mastering and mixing, which I sort of blew my mind, because I don't think that was there until I made my authority site. To be quite honest with you, I'm not lying. I think that I made that brand into what it is. And so you can do that too, but it takes time. I've been working on that brand for 2 years. Okay, so that's what happens if you follow my plan, and if that's what you want to do. But the point being, if I had picked, mixing and mastering, or mastering.com would probably have got me more business. Well, we know that Google doesn't give as much weight now to the exact match domain names, but I think it does. To be honest, I kind of think, not exact match, but what it does, it wants you to fit like a glove, right? So my Groovephonic now, they've apparently, conceded that my domain fits like a glove with mastering and mixing. But Body Talk would fit like a glove for gossip about celebrity plastic surgery. Does that make sense to everybody? What I'm talking about, does this ring any bell to anyone at all? Yes, yep, sure, yep, yes, yeah, absolutely. Good, good. I like to see the feedback. It lets you know that you're with me, and thanks so much. Absolutely, yes, 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 okay. So, I mean, yeah, he needs some time. Google needs more than time, because if I didn't do what I did, steps 3, 4, 5, and 6, then it wouldn't even have happened. So you have to go through the process, and you'll make it happen. But the point that I'm saying is that if you pick the words that Google thinks your site is about before you even make your site, that's just going to help you so much. Does that make sense? Let me see a Y-E-S. Yes. Yep, 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 yep. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, cool. So, okay, so like I said, you do the research, use the Google keyword tool, see what the name means to Google. If anybody has trouble seeing the screen, you can use the controls of the webinar to increase the resolution of the GoToWebinar program. I believe it's in the upper left. Okay, so now what I've been learning about, folks, is that this used domain thing is just the most absolutely amazing thing. And I have some really cool software that I got, and if enough people ask me, I will give you a link to get it. But basically, it allows you to find high PR used domains with edu backlinks. And for example, last Sunday, I just got up Sunday afternoon. I said, you know what, I'm going to get some domains today. And between 1 p.m. and 5 o'clock Sunday afternoon, I bought 15 domains. Not one of them was less than PR3. Lots of them had edu backlinks, and they all had at least 100 backlinks, and some of them had like 1,000 backlinks, and one of them was a PR5 with edu backlinks and 1,000 index backlinks. So, you can just go out there and get these domains. They're already set up. Why do you want to go and flagellate yourself going through all this hell, with the creating a new brand, when you can go and just get these things? Okay, so what you want to do is, try to find these high PR used domains with edu backlinks and other backlinks. So then you can, there is a plugin that's free called Link Juice Keeper. I want to thank my friend Todd for turning me out of this. Bless you, brother. This is amazing stuff. So thank you, Todd, who created Spider Spanker, which you all should get too, which I can give you a link for that too. But he did not create this. It's a guy named Satya created the the domain software. Okay, everybody's asking me for this, so I did get the link before. I'll put it right here for you. There's the link to Expire Domain Gold. What the heck? Minimize. Okay, so please don't go and do that link right now because I'm trying to give you this lesson. Okay, just wait until after this, and it's not going anywhere. I asked the guy how long he was going to keep that open, and he said he's not going to close it. It's a so-called evergreen software, so you'll be able to visit that link anytime to pick that up. And I'm going to do training on that too if you do, because I will make some money if you do buy it through that link. I'm not going to lie to you, but I'm going to provide you with intense, in-depth training on how to use that program if you do purchase it, and I will be earning any commission that I make on it for you. So that's important. The domain name. Now we're going to look at the web hosting. And I always recommend, there's all kinds of deals out there, and I don't have an affiliate link with any of this. I probably should. I'm losing lots of money because I don't monetize everything I do, but every now and then, like the EDG, I say, hey, why not, But what I'm going to recommend to all of you is you start with a small upgradable account from a reputable, larger company. And the reason being that those larger companies like HostGator, HostMonster, even GoDaddy, they have great support, and everything works. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you need to install some plugin or give some permissions or have some extra, like Ion Cube Loader, I don't know if you know, I mean, a lot of plugins need that, things like that. It already works. It's so easy to configure. You don't have to go through hell with support staff that don't know what's going on, which you'll find. I think you'll find probably 80% of the deals that you'll find the support and the infrastructure is quite poor unless you go with some company that has enough money to maintain their server farm in a very professional manner. And these big companies, believe me, they got it together. And in case you didn't know, I worked at Microsoft, so I know what these things look like. When I was out there, they gave me a tour of the server farm, and if I could describe it for you, it's like a big room the size of a football field that's just filled with rack after rack after rack after rack of servers, and it's like freezing cold. They got so much air conditioning, and then they've got this huge control panel that looks like Dr. Evil's control center. It's like awesome. And that's the kind of thing that you want to work with, not with some mom and pop thing where they really don't know what they're doing. We really discovered this with things like the VVC Syndicator plugin and stuff, trying to get it to work. And some hosting companies, they sort of just don't have the infrastructure set up correctly. Even just installing WordPress, I've worked with a couple of my coaching clients to try and set up their WordPress site, and they just end up moving off of the hosting company because they certain permissions are required on the server for you to do auto updates and stuff like that. And they just couldn't even make that work for WordPress. So if you can't get that to work for WordPress, there's no reason you should stay with that hosting company. And if you do have an account like that, and when you start getting more traffic, you can upgrade it if your bandwidth calls for it. And I do recommend Linux. And Windows is cool, but I would say stay away from that when you're doing the WordPress stuff. Self-managed, dedicated hosting, I do that too. It's good. And of course, we're going to use WordPress. When we first install WordPress, okay, you want to turn off the comments. Set up the permalinks immediately to post name. discourage search engines, set the blog name and the tagline and the site address and the WordPress address should match. They should be the same, unless you want to get into some really weird redirecting problems, and you may not be able to use our software if you don't set up your settings for the site address correctly and pay attention to what's in there. Okay. You want to select and configure your theme, and don't make a big deal out of it. Just pick a theme that looks good and get some nice. I would say get some nice graphics from Fiverr. Get somebody to make you a nice header or something like that. Maybe some matching graphics to go throughout the site. Configure just a few plugins. Like I told you before, the Link Juice Keeper, especially if you have a used domain, you got to put Link Juice Keeper, because what that does is it. I didn't even mention about archive.org. I kind of missed. I got to put that in this training too, because when you're researching your used domain, you can actually recover the website the way it was before it went down using archive.org. But if you don't do that, you're going to need something like Link Juice Keeper, because if you've got backlinks out there from a resurrected domain, then if people try to come in through that backlink, then they're going to get a 404. That's not good, because when Google spiders the site and it gets a 404, 404 means this isn't here anymore, right? So that's not good for the spider, because then the spider goes back and more or less de-indexes that backlink, right? So what you have to do is put the Link Juice Keeper, because then when that happens, instead of sending a 404, it sends a 302, which means, oh yeah, that's here, but it moved over to the front page, and then and so the backlink remains good, but it just in Google marks that as a permanent forwarding to the front page of the site instead of that link, that page that didn't exist anymore. So it's all good. Link Juice Keeper is a free plugin, and I can get you a copy of that. Once again, thanks Todd, creator of Spider Spanker. And Spider Spanker is also a great plugin. If you need that, let me know. I'll send you a link for that. Spider Spanker is your sentry, your protector, because it doesn't let the Chinese search engines just come in, and Baidu and all these bad search engines that just suck up your bandwidth. And you can also see how Google is spidering, how many times. You can see who else is on your site in real time. It's an amazing plugin. Google XML Sitemaps is the best to me anyway. It's a must. Install it, but don't turn it on. Okay. Auto SEO tags is a great plugin too, because what that does is that whatever keyword that was used to search for your site gets added as a tag to that post that they come in on. So it's pretty cool. But don't turn on XML sitemaps until you're ready to go, and don't turn off the discouraged search engines. Don't turn on comments. Don't turn on Google XML sitemaps until I say so. Now, once we get to this point, I'm going to start testing with my software, with VVC Pro, VIC Pro, ICC Pro, and make sure it's working. Because that's going to be Spider. Yeah, no, it's not, Renee. It's not too much, so. So I'm going to test and make sure I can do those posts with my software, because that's going to be my main curation thing once I get this set up. And you're going to see how cool this is once we get it set up. We're going to create the keyword-based category structure on the website, which means that we're going to use some of those long tail keywords that we discovered in step 1 to become our categories, and we're also going to post the static content, which are those articles that I talked about in step 1 that we had made on the long tail keywords, remember? So we're going to paste those, we're going to put those up as pages on our site. And we're going to set up a target blog post page to receive content from Web Dimensions software. And that what that means is that really it's just the front page. You know, the blog page usually goes on the front page of the website. You can set it up for another one. For example, on my Beats for Days, I set it up as the news site. So any of my posts that I make with my software goes directly to that news page because I always choose the news category. And by doing that, I can direct my my software posts directly to a particular category at a particular page on my website rather than them always going on the front page no matter what. And I can show you guys how to do that in another training session, but it's a really cool thing. Then you're going to create your required pages, which is your website disclaimer, terms of service, privacy policy, and contact form. Those are more or less expected. You can combine them all, not the contact form, but you can combine the first 3 into one if you want to, or just separate ways. There's certain things that you're supposed to say, like tell people that you use cookies and stuff like that. Do not attempt to monetize or solicit opt-ins at this point. Keep the blog clean, only interesting things for viewers. Once the blog is complete, looking good, ready to receive posts, you uncheck the discourage search engines and save that. Then you paste in the large list of ping servers that we have provided, which is like over 100 ping servers, and you're going to paste those into the writing section of the WordPress blog, because then every time you make a post with VVC Pro or ICC Pro or VIC Pro, that post automatically gets pinged out to hundreds of ping servers, which then sticks your URL into RSS feeds, which are consumed by Google and lots of other aggregated RSS services. So basically you set this up intrinsically in WordPress to automatically broadcast your post every time. Okay, and so once you get that set up, you turn everything on. You invite the search engines. You're going to turn on Google Sitemaps, because that generates a sitemap and pings Google and Bing right away. So it's like, okay, we're on the radar now. And then you start your curation using the software. You're going to implement statistics tracking, and there you can use Google Analytics if you want to. You can use Piwik. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's very similar to Google Analytics. It's great. There's quite a few other services out there that will provide you code that you can put on your site to track your statistics. You also want to make sure you're doing some SERPs tracking. Like I use SERPbook.com. and just show you real quick what that looks like. Okay, so this is SERPbook.com, and I have a lot of keywords implemented in, and these are all from Groovephonic.com. And you can see I have the #1 position on these 4, and probably a lot more that I just haven't put in here. But there's some good ones, like what's the price for mixing and mastering, right? That's #4 on Google for me. Right, so this is how I use the SERP book to track where my keywords are putting my website on the Google return search results. Does everybody understand that? Sometimes people don't understand the difference between statistics and SERPs. Okay, great. So, the statistics is like how much traffic you get, how many people come in, where they're coming from, so on and so forth. The SERP tracking shows you where you are in Google for the keywords. Okay, so we're going to implement all of that. You have to implement this. It doesn't just show up by itself, because if you don't have the keywords programmed, then you're not tracking them. You have to program them now in step 2. Okay, so once you've done all of that, then you're going to start your curating. And of course, it's fun and easy with our software, right? Okay, so you're going to curate recent news stories, existing websites, public domain images, memes, videos from YouTube and so forth. We can distribute our own videos using the VVC syndicator and then use our curation software to curate those videos. We should curate a news story each day using curation rules for our keywords. And when I say curation rules, there is a certain format that you should do your curating your posts if you're curating news with ICC Pro. By the way, I'll let you know a little secret. I'm working on a new news curation program that you'll all get a great deal on. You're going to love it. Yay! So the news is important, though, because we didn't have that in VIC Pro or VVC Pro. Those were just for images and video. So I'm trying to throw them all together in one cool program. So we'll see how that works out. So you want to do is also promote each new post that you make, using the bookmarking tools, or doing it manually. But we have that built into VVC Pro and VIC Pro, that you can do a blog post and automatically bookmark that post on Facebook and on your fan pages. So if you have a fan page that has huge people, so you would also want it. That's part of number 4. Okay, but if you happen to have a fan page that has lots and lots of people liking it, then you can make a post on your blog. It automatically pings to hundreds of ping servers, and then it automatically bookmarks on your fan page to your thousands of fans, just with one button click with our software. That's the cool thing about it. But it's about creating this big picture. That's why I'm presenting this to you. It's not just one button to be pushed. There is this whole step, this big picture that you need to create in order for it all to really work. Okay, so that's steps 1, 2, and 3. We're coming up to the top of the hour, so I think I'm almost done with this presentation for today, because there's a lot more. But let's just quickly go over. Once you've got the curation going on, and you've got everything set up the way I've described, like I said, you want to do some social sharing. Twitter is amazing, and I'm going to be working on some training about Twitter, because Twitter is like so powerful if you do it correctly. So we're working on that too. Facebook, of course, there's so many ways to get in Facebook, and there's so many WSOs and stuff that explain to you how to blow up your Facebook. So you need to do all that. I mean, if you're interested, if you're passionate about your website and all that stuff. If you're just doing a robot thing, of course, you might not be trying to get that out there. But, like we said at the beginning of this presentation, this is for your authority site that you identify with, that you're using. So you can use Twitter and Facebook, of course, Pinterest. There's so many other ways to share socially too. The video marketing, as I've shown you in my last launch with the viral video domination and that sort of thing. Backlinks are important. You want to get some edu backlinks if you can, you know, do some forums, blog comments, but not crap. Don't go out and get them on Fiverr. That's going to break it. You know, you got to do it smart now, which means less is more when it comes to backlinks, but smart ones. Okay, get some edu backlinks. You know, these are just ideas. You don't have to do all of them, but it helps. Do some guest posts. Write an article and get it posted on eZine so you're an expert on eZine like I am. Press releases are fantastic. I've done several press releases for Groophonic, and you know, years later I see people are reposting them by using SENuke to scrape my my press releases and use it for their own content, and my name is still getting spread around with their backlinks. It's crazy. Paid traffic is great. AdWords, if you have the money to pay for AdWords, let me tell you something. If you don't, but don't break their terms of service, because you can't send AdWords to an AdSense site. Just remember that. But if you're doing like like me, or something, you know, that fits that paradigm, you know, get some paid AdWords because you get great clients from that. I still have customers like 2 years later that I got from AdWords. Sorry about that. So there's solo ads too, which is a whole other can of worms to get into. Pay-per-view, which is like pop unders or whatever. Some people do great with that. I don't do much with that. I haven't really experimented with the solo ads, but I intend to. Facebook ads, I hear that they're great. I haven't used those. And there are other ad networks, so you can use paid traffic if you want. I mean, there are all different ways to get the traffic, and there's a lot more than this too, which I'll be adding to the training in the future. So once you got all this going on, then you're going to have to go back to your stats and see how much traffic and see where your keywords are. And I'm going to say once you get to a certain point that you see the traffic is coming because they like the website and they like what you're offering, and then, you know, that's really the time when you're going to start thinking about the monetization. Okay, so I'm not even going to open that one today, but I think this is where we're going to leave off for today's training. And that's enough because, like I said, most people don't do number 1. They do number 2, and they go to number 6 immediately, and then they never get out of number 2 because they're always playing with plugins and themes and so on and so forth. So you have to jump over there. You have to step this like stepping stones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so once you get there, then the monetization is how you open up the portal to your financial world. Okay, but you can't do that unless you've done 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and it fits certain characteristics. Okay, so that is going to bring to a close the training for today, and I hope you like that. I think it's pretty cool. Do I really, Cindy? Okay, awesome, man. I'm getting so much good feedback here. One of the most valuable webinars. Excellent. Love number 1. Outstanding presentation. Great training. I really appreciate this, folks. That's great. Okay. So I think unless there are really pressing questions about this material, I guess I might as well just quit while I'm ahead and say good day. I will let you guys all know when the next training will be. And I want to thank you so much for being a subscriber and to being one of my customers. And okay, I'll give you people are asking for that link again for the EDG, and there it is. Okay, I wasn't planning on publishing the mind map right now because it's still under construction, and this is going to become a much more advanced training. This is the basis for it, so I'm sure you'll be able to, if you stick with me, we're going to go through everything. Okay, so if you need anything, contact us at support@instantcontentcurator.com. And we will answer any questions. It looks like we did get a good recording. I won't know until I turn this off, but it looks like it's recording, so we'll have that in the members section, and I will also send the link by email to everyone. Okay. So awesome. Thanks so much for coming, folks. I want to wish you all a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. Thanks, David. Gratitude right back to you, my brother. So have a great, great day, all of you. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.